Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Shin Kim. I'm teaching History of Israel. Maybe today class is third class. For a full picture, if you memorize this only one page, maybe you can understand the whole history of Israel. So around BC 1800 years ago, actually Abraham left Ur in maybe Ur actually belonged to Mesopotamia, okay? Eastern Asia in modern day, maybe Iran and Iraq. Actually, Abraham lived there. And one day God called Abraham and he left Ur and he came to Canaan, maybe in modern world Israel. He coming to around BC from maybe present around 3,800 years ago, Abraham left Ur in Mesopotamia and moved to Israel. And after him, actually, Abraham has a son called Isaac. Isaac bear brother Jacob, and also his son is Joseph. Usually during this area, around 600 actually era called Age of Patriarchy. That means one family. At the time, the nation of Israel was not born, okay? Only Abraham had his one family, and Isaac inherited, and Jacob inherited, and Joseph inherited. They are just only one big family. That's all. So during that, actually, patriarchy means they are actually father, son, and grandson relationship. So only very, very small, tiny family. So that age called actually age of patriarchy. And after that, uh, actually Israel lived in Egypt. Maybe today I'm gonna a little bit explain about that. And after Exodus by the Moses, actually, after leaving the Egypt, actually during that era called Age of Judge. At the time, there was no king. Only the judge actually ruled over the 12 tribes. And after that, finally, the first king called Saul, second king called the King David, third actually king called Solomon. Okay, that era actually called United Kingdom. That means there was only one nation in Israel. But as soon as King Solomon died, unfortunately, Israel was divided to north and south. Northern part called actually Israel, southern part called actually Judah. So there was two kingdom, okay? So that's why period of the two kingdom. And by the Assyrian in Mesopotamia, actually they invaded North Israel, and Israel was actually disappeared. No longer it was just Israel, North Israel, it was just only southern area. Judah survived, but even around 250 years later, Babylonian Empire actually invade Judah, and Judah was also occupied by Babylonian Empire. So after that, there was no more the nation of Israel exists in this world. They disappeared. The nation of Israel was totally disappeared. First by the Assyrian, second actually Babylonian, and it was gone. Israel was gone. So Old Testament actually based on this simple structure, simple actually period of time. So you may understand, okay? I'm gonna teach it based on this paradigm. And previously through the second actually class, I'm talking about Abraham. And today my main topic is his son Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. So finally, at when actually reached to the Jacob, the creation of Israel, the name of Israel was born during that era. So Hebrews or Israels, they are actually nomadic tribe from Canaan. That means nomadic means they moving around because they raise a lot of cow, they raise goat, sheep. That's why. So actually, Abraham, he was a shepherd. He raised the sheep, okay, and goat. Sometimes small, maybe camels and the horse. So he was actually raising a lot of animals. So they looking for grass. That's why they moving around with tent. One day stay here, next day looking for another actually green grass. They moving around. That's called nomadic tribe. Okay. So Abraham actually lived in Canaan and later called Palestine and Israel. Okay, Hebrew considered themselves as the chosen people because this is the stuff from the Abraham. God called Abraham and he was chosen by God. So Hebrews or Israel actually they believe that God chose us. We are chosen people. So they have their one pride about that. So Hebrew consider themselves the chosen people, direct descendant of Abraham and Isaac and Joseph. Okay, Jacob and Joseph. Hebrew belief was monotheistic. That means they believe only one God. Even maybe in Greek Roman Empire, there are so many religions, so many gods. Okay, even sometimes a person can be changed to be a god. So maybe there are several gods, sometimes several hundred gods, so many gods. Okay, but in Israel there is only one God. They called monotheistic. So, according to the Bible, there is only one God. So, the Israel people actually followed God of creation. And usually patriarchal, that means father rule of the family. So, the first father called Abraham, second generation Isaac, third generation Jacob, fourth generation Joseph. Okay, so look at the picture. It looks like a saint, but you may see the three righteous patriarchy. So first one is Abraham, second Isaac, third Jacob. Okay, so usually whenever the Israel people remember their ancestor, we are the descendant of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. They always mention these three names. And that's why these three figures are extremely important. So Abraham instructed a steward to find a wife for Isaac. For the first class, I'm teaching about Abraham has a son called Isaac through the Sarah. Okay, Sarah, his original wife, only original wife. Through the wife, actually, Isaac was born almost at the age of 100. Finally, at the age of 100, Abraham not becoming grandfather, he becoming a father at the age of 100. So after that, his wife Sarah died. So Abraham worried about the future of his only one son called Isaac. That's why Abraham instructed his servant to find a wife for Isaac. So Abraham actually sent his servant to the original place when he lived in Uru. In that area, actually, Abraham sent his servant. And because his family, his brothers, sisters lived in Ur, that area. That's why. So Abraham sent his steward to find a wife for Isaac. Finally, he actually found Rebecca, the actually future wife of Isaac. So actually, Rebecca was the daughter of Abraham's brother. So it looks like cousin. Okay, they are cousin. Actually, Abraham has a son called Isaac, and Abraham's brother has a daughter named Rebecca. Younger brother has a daughter called Rebecca. So they are totally cousin, okay, cousin to each other. But during that time, it was okay to marry to each other, even they are cousin. So they the actually servants actually brought Rebecca to Isaac, and they have a family finally. Isaac was married to Rebecca, and Isaac and Rebecca, actually, that was one of the biblical romance story. And if you read the Genesis chapter 24, 25, maybe you may read the love story between Isaac and Rebecca. So even in Bible, there are so many stories. Even we call the Bible Holy Bible, but the story is not that much old. So many human story, human mind, human hates each other. That's why they kill each other, they hate each other, they favor one somebody. Those kinds of story is covered in Old Testament. And between Isaac and Rebecca, actually there was twins, okay, twin called Esau. First actually son called Esau and Jacob. But why the Bible already talking about, mentioning about Jacob, not talking about the Esau? I'm gonna explain about that. Actually, Rebecca was barren. That means she cannot have a baby. But by the miracle of God, finally Rebecca was pregnant, and actually she has twins. She ended up having twins who struggled together in the wombs. Even there are two babies in her womb, and they fighting each other even in her womb. And as soon as they was born, unfortunately, these twins start fighting each other. So Genesis chapter 25, after this, his brother came out, and his hands grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. So the first son coming out, actually Esau, and second son called actually Jacob. So if you look at the picture, yeah, this is the first moment Isaac met actually Rebecca. Look at the camels. So we can imagine that the ancestor of Israel actually coming from Mesopotamia in modern, as I said, in modern world, Iran and Iraq. So they riding on the camel, okay? And even their clothing, their lifestyle, exactly following the Mesopotamian actually culture. That's why. And but as soon as two sons was born, and Isaac and Rebecca, actually they have two sons. But unfortunately, there was some family actually split. That means, let me read Genesis chapter 25, verse 28. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau. So first son Esau, he was Esau. Isaac loved Esau. But Rebecca loved the second son Jacob. Even family humans actually has some favorite one, some less favorite one, sometimes hated one. So unfortunately, Isaac loved the first son, Rebecca loved the second son. So there are family struggle, family jealous, family actually split start. According to the book of Genesis, chapter 5, verse 33, Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore on oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. What this means? Jacob was the first son, and actually Esau was the first son, and Jacob was the second son. Usually the first son inherits whole authority over their family. Even a little bit until recently, even in my country, South Korea, the first son has the inherit the whole property of the father. So it's a long time ago, around 4,000 years ago. And the first son has authority. And unfortunately, second son, he could not actually hold anything. So first son has full actually authority about family property, family policy. So Esau actually he has that authority, but unfortunately Jacob was seeking some kind of a birthright. He wanted to be a first actually son, and one day Jacob decided to cheating his father Isaac, and he actually the Esau actually he was a hunter. Okay, he go outside and he brings some deer, and he was extremely hungry. And at the time, Jacob was cooking some stew, some kind of a soybean stew. And at the time, Esau was extremely hungry. Give one dish to me. But Jacob said, you must sell your birthright to me. So he was cheating something like that. And finally, Esau said that, okay, I'm gonna give my birthright to you. Give your food to me. So he ate it, but he forgot about that. But Jacob actually considered, now I'm the first son in this family. But in order to officially to become a first son or getting birthright, Jacob should actually receive the blessing of his father's blessing. He needed his father's blessing. And actually, Isaac, as I said, he loved Esau. So he wanted to blessing his first son Esau. But now he become old and he cannot see well. He almost blind. He cannot see anything. And so he called to Esau, get up, make some good hunter, and bring me meat stew, and I'm gonna blessing you. And when actually Esau going out, unfortunately, Isaac's wife Rebecca and Jacob tried to cheating, actually almost blinded Isaac. So Rebecca made savory stew, delicious meat stew, okay, and put his skin of goats on Jacob's hands to disguise cheating, okay, try to cheating because Isaac, he was almost blind, he cannot see. And Esau was a muscle man, okay, he was a great hunter, and he had good physical body with a lot of hair in his body. But Jacob was a homeboy. He loves cooking, cleaning the house, making some something in his room. He wanna stay in the room, and his skin was so smooth. He doesn't have any hair in his body. So that's why Rebecca actually put some skin goat, because the skin goat covered a lot of hair. So that's why, look at the picture. So Jacob was put on goat skin, and in order to figure it out, the almost blinded Isaac, when he touched his hands, he figured out, oh, you are Esau. That's why Rebecca, Jacob, they lied to Isaac and try to disguise, try to cheating actually Isaac. And finally, after eating the meat stew, actually Isaac actually blessed Jacob, because he misunderstood this is Esau. But Jacob actually disguised Isaac, and Isaac blessed him. So Isaac was tricked by Jacob to give Esau's blessing to Jacob. So through this actually blessing, finally Jacob he has a birthright, or he becomes some kind of a first son's authority. He received that. But as soon as Esau actually returned, and he figured out Jacob cheated him. So Esau wanted to try to kill Jacob. And Jacob, he recognized that his brother, Esau, was extremely strong guy, so he run away. That's why Jacob escaped to Haran, because Esau planned to killing Jacob. So finally, Jacob run away from his house. He left his family because he cheated his father Isaac, and even his first brother Esau. He left the home. He ran away from him. And Jacob actually go to his cousin Rebecca's brother, Rebecca, his mother's older brother. So maybe uncle. He go to his uncle, and Jacob actually in there he was married to two daughters of also they are actually cousin. They married to each other. Cousins are married to each other. And Jacob actually has two wives and two maid servants. So Jacob has four women. So his first wife is called Leah. And through the Leah, Jacob has the son Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun. So through actually his first wife, actually he has six sons. And the second wife called Rachel, actually Leah and Rachel, they are sister to each other. Leah was older sister, and Rachel, number four, Rachel was a younger sister. And the sisters married to the same man called Jacob. And but even Rachel, she was barren because she cannot actually become pregnant. So she was jealous about her first sister called Leah. So Rachel gave his maid servant called Bilhah. So through the Bilhah, two sons was born, and Leah also gave her maid servant to Jacob, and Jacob slept with Zilpah and had another two sons. Fine, but Rachel, he actually cry out to God, God, I wanna to have a son. Please open my wombs. Finally, God heard of her cry, and Rachel became pregnant and bear two sons called Joseph and Benjamin. So count the whole number. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Joseph, Benjamin. Finally, Jacob has 12 sons, and that 12 sons become the head of 12 tribes. Actually, Israel was divided by 12 tribes. So that's why there was 12 patriarchs of Jewish people, and the bear of belief in one God. They settled in the land of Israel, Canaan. They settled in Canaan. So Jacob actually had 12 sons, and he was called Israel. So because of him, actually, there are 12 actually tribes. Actually, his name was suddenly changed to Jacob to Israel. Actually, Jacob working for his uncle Laban. Okay, Laban actually was older brother of Rebecca. So he was Laban was actually his uncle. Okay, his uncle, Jacob's uncle. And Laban has two daughters called Leah and Rachel, and both of them married to Jacob. But Laban considered Jacob as one of his slaves, and finally Jacob decided to run away from Laban, and finally he escaped, and with his 12 sons, actually he coming to Canaan. He left his uncle Laban and coming back to Canaan, but who is waiting for him? His older brother Esau. As soon as Esau heard that Jacob is coming to him, he said he bring around 400 soldiers. He wanted to kill Jacob, and Jacob knew that his older brother Esau going to kill him. So he was so afraid, and he stopped praying to God. Finally, angel appeared, and during the whole night they wrestled each other. And in the morning, the angel wanted to leave, but actually Jacob hold the angel, press me, because I'm going to die in tomorrow, because my brother Esau bring 400 soldiers. Today I'm gonna die. Please protect me and bless me. Until you bless me, I cannot let you go. So finally, angels actually blessed Jacob. That's why. So Genesis chapter 35, God said to him, your name is Jacob, but you will be no longer be called Jacob. Your name will be Israel. So he named him actually Israel. Finally, the name Jacob was changed to Israel, and based on Jacob's new name, Israel is the nation of Israel was born. Okay, that's why Abraham, actually Isaac, Jacob is so important to Israel people. So finally, by the miracle of God, the big brother, actually Esau, actually he forgave Jacob. So finally, Jacob settled in the land of Canaan, and looks like his characteristic is trickster. That means he's cheater. He whining so many times. He already cheating somebody. That's not good characteristic. But he was so active character because he actually steal his birthright from his older brother Esau, and he was extremely actually diligent and active. God chose Jacob instead of Esau. And Jacob has 12 sons, and among the 12 actually sons, fortunately Jacob loved Joseph, the son of Leah, the second wife, Leah's first son, Joseph. Jacob loved Joseph. Even he has 12 sons, he always considered Joseph. So Joseph's colorful love, that means even, old man, look at the picture, old man is Jacob, and smiling with colorful clothing called, he was Joseph. And the other 11 brother, they was jealous about that. And even, Joseph, another his nickname is, he is dreamer. He dream a lot, and he was a good interpreter of dream. So he has one dream, and brothers bundles of grain bow down his bundle of grain. He have a dream, okay? Another dream, the sun, moon, 11 stars bow down to him. That means sun means actually his father, Jacob. And the moon means his moon actually means Rachel, maybe Rachel, because Jacob has almost four wives. Okay, 4 wives. Sun means Jacob, moon means mother, and the 11 star means 11 brother bow down to him. So he talked about his dream to his father and 11 brother, and they was extremely angry. You are almost the last son of Jacob, and we're gonna bow down before you. Oh my God. Yeah, even Jacob so much loved Joseph. They jealous and Joseph talking about his dream. And finally, they decided. 11 brothers decide. They agree to kill Joseph. And that's why they threw Joseph down in a dry well. But suddenly there was some merchant going around, and they sold Joseph to the trader, and that trader brought Joseph to Egypt. That's why Israel, the family of Jacob, going to later Egypt. Okay, little bit long story. Joseph actually he was a slave and he was sold by to Egyptian and he become a slave in one family and he was sold to Potiphar, some kind of Egyptian army general. Okay, and he moved up in charge of all Potiphar's estate. Joseph was extremely smart and he knows how to manage the whole family. But unfortunately, Potiphar's wife, his master's wife, found Joseph he was extremely handsome and attractive and tried to seduce him. So she was holding Joseph. Sleep with me. But Joseph actually tried to run away from her, and she actually cried. She screamed out and accused Joseph tried to rape her. And as a result, actually Joseph, unfortunately, by the wrongful accusation by his master's wife, he was in jail. Now, yeah, unfortunately, Joseph was brought to Egypt as a slave. Now he became a criminal, so he was in jail in Egypt. His future life looks like in disaster. But he was, as I said, he was a good actually dream interpreter. The king of Egypt called Pharaoh has two dreams. So dream one is 7 skinny cows ate 7 heavy cows. You may look at the picture, okay? There are 7 fat cows. But beside there was a very skinny 7 cows. But suddenly skinny 7 cows eat fat actually cows. So it looks like a nightmare to him. He has another dream. 7 dried up plants ate the 7 healthy plants. So he continuously have a same dream. So he was a nightmare. So he called everybody, okay, interpret this dream. But unfortunately, nobody interpreted his dream. Finally, Joseph, actually, he was famous of a dream interpreter, and he was brought to Pharaoh, and he heard of Pharaoh's dream, and he interpreted it. And that means 7 years extremely good harvest. After 7 years good harvest, 7 years drought. No more harvest. So he interpreted that dream, and King Pharaoh actually he gave extremely high position. Joseph became the prime minister of Egypt because King Pharaoh he no idea about how to manage the 14 years, 7 years good harvest, 7 years famine drought. He doesn't know, so that's why it looks like Joseph. You are so wise. You can handle this one. So that's why he was in charge. So Joseph was put in charge of food storehouse in Egypt. So look at him. So now Joseph almost become an Egyptian, and because he was second in Egypt position, and he ruling over So 7 years, actually, there are so many wheat, so many potato, so many corns. So he building a lot of storage, and he saved them. And after 7 years, good harvest, finally 7 years of famine, 7 years drought. There was no food around, even in Egypt, but also around that areas. There was no more grain, no more corn, no more wheat. Finally, uh, the Joseph's family, including his father Jacob, with 11 actually brothers, actually they live in Hebron in Canaan, and finally Joseph, Jacob heard that his son Joseph lived in Egypt. That's why they moved to Egypt. So Jacob sent an envoy of his son to Egypt for food during the famine, 7 years of famine, and they looking for food. They heard that there are a lot of food in Egypt, and they didn't know Joseph become a prime minister. And finally, they recognized Joseph become prime minister, and they moved to Egypt. Especially, they settled down in Goshen, in Egypt. 7 years of famine forced the Israelites to migrate to Goshen, Egypt. So they settled down in Egypt. Okay. All after that, almost 400 years, the family of Jacob, the family of Joseph lived in Egypt. The sojourn in Egypt was the danger to the religion of the Israelites, who adopt many hidden customs. So previously, actually, since actually Joseph almost become Egyptian, and the family of Jacob actually lived in Egypt 400. Now whole Israel people looks like they become an Egyptian. Okay, Egyptian 400 years. Okay, and maybe next time I'm explain about how Moses escaped from Egypt. That called Exodus. Actually, today your homework is your first option, try to watch the movie Joseph, King of Dream. This is looks like a cartoon. Maybe you, some of you love the cartoon. Try to look at it, or you may choose number 2, Genesis chapter 25 through 50. This whole story is talking about Isaac, Jacob, Joseph's story. Okay, thank you. See you next week.